the coaching, how we see coaching as having a very unique differentiator as an intervention for the hybrid context. We see coaching as being unique because it can be personalized, it can be so malleable and adaptable. It doesn't have a one size fits all, and therefore it's very uniquely positioned to infiltrate the system that you have for hybrid and make sure that you isolate pockets of effectiveness, learn from those, and disseminate them out to other teams. So what we're really looking at with coaching is moving from that surviving mode, which we've come out of in 2020, back into a thriving mode. How do we make sure that we take hybrid, we bring the intentionality to it, which means bringing skill sets, bringing awareness, bringing an internal dialogue around what it means to be hybrid, so that we can take coaching and really disseminate the effectiveness. So just on to the next slide. What we're seeing is we need to be able to take coaching at all the different levels of your system, where we often see coaching and skill development at the intervention of the manager and the leader. Of course, as investment points within your business, they make sense because they have such a ramification. They have a trickle-down effect to the rest of the business. But thinking about the team and how you coach that team intact for their communication style, their relationship building, their network ability across that group, I say group there interchangeably, but across that team is so essential as well. But really zooming out and think how you're coaching the culture to how you're coaching the system. Do managers have the coaching skills? We're not just talking here about bringing in externally. Maybe there's an element of external coaches at each of these levels, but then it's also embedding these skills so that peer-to-peer coaching can work, manager to direct report can work, leader into the system of the frameworks and the policies and the working practices can work as well. So really making sure that we use coaching as a style, which by that we mean questioning, bringing awareness, opening up dialogue at all of those different levels so that we can create that intentionality. So we often focus on the leader. They're absolutely key to begin with, but we bring your awareness to the rest of this landscape as well. So I'll just pass back to Sarah now, and we'll start talking through how you can bring that coaching lens to the across those different areas. Just bear that in mind. We're talking teams, managers, leaders, and the whole system to bring in this skill set.
Yeah, thanks Alex. And I think one of my observations is that I'm starting to observe the uptick in interest in team coaching, and I think that's exacerbated or amplified by the need to be able to operate effectively in a hybrid environment. So if we look at how do we intentionally focus on the skills that leaders require to operate in this environment, we can sort of categorize them in three different buckets, if you like. So the human-centered skills, so how do we build connection? How do we coach people? How do we use empathy to work with people in this environment? And we're particularly seeing with the increase in focus on well-being and particularly within the Australian context, the requirement to look after psychosocial safety and all that sits alongside that. So human-centered skills are critical for that. But then alongside that, we also need to be looking at skills specific to operating in the hybrid environment. So how do you lead? How do you have performance conversations? How do you amplify the level of transparency and trust in a hybrid environment? And then the performance focus skills, which of course have been a traditional focus anyway. So we know that operating in this hybrid environment requires us to develop the perspective taking capacity of leaders and their mental complexity. So that includes being able to acknowledge and see competing needs, to understand their own biases, and to acknowledge that some of our previous mental models no longer apply in this new context. So in the past, if we could see what people were doing, that was how we monitored performance and got results in the business. We need to actually start letting go of those models and think about how we do that in this new world.